We're leaving the Loxley Valley, but before we do, let's just pause to recognise what Sheffield's hills once did for its people and, more importantly, jobs. The valleys between the hills supplied water power for machinery used in the milling of flour, making paper as we saw in Hill 2, and here in Loxley Valley, the processing of quarried stone to make fireproof equipment for Sheffield's iron and steel works. And in this hillside was found ganister, a silica-rich stone used in early blast furnaces and to make crucibles, as well as pot clay, both fireproof, and such items were called refractory products. But by the end of the 1970s, Sheffield was transitioning from a boom town to a city struggling with rapid deindustrialisation. It was so bad that the steelmakers would accept any order, including making Saddam Hussein's supergun. It was a combination of nationalisation, overproduction, as well as rapidly increasing energy prices, just like it is today. And what we see in Loxley Valley today is a result of that. Abandoned factories, sheds and office blocks, not even any money left to demolish them. They've laid idle now for over 30 years. The real story behind the deindustrialisation of Sheffield doesn't begin in Sheffield at all. It begins with a man called Kermit. No, not the frog. Kermit Roosevelt Jr. was an American intelligence officer and a distant cousin of American wartime President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In the years after the Second World War, America decided to chuck out Britain as the dominant power in the Middle East, not with their own army, but with influence, coups and uprisings. It was codenamed Project Fat Fucker. The Fat Fucker referring to Egyptian King Farouk. Whereas the British used diplomacy, Roosevelt used foul language. Roosevelt secretly made contact with Egypt's free officers, nationalist army officers opposed to both King Farouk and to Britain's continued military presence. But why was Britain there? Because Britain and France had built the Suez Canal, and because through that canal flowed the oil, in oil tankers of course. That kept British industry, places like Sheffield, alive. So the Americans got Gamal Abdel Nasser and his band of merry men to overthrow King Farouk, and so Nasser took over Egypt. And Nasser became America's puppet in the region. And then Nasser blocked the Suez Canal by sinking ships, so Britain and France were starved of oil. So Britain sent troops to unblock the Suez, and America objected, and with the help of the United Nations, sent the British troops home. Britain found itself on the wrong side of American foreign policy, and the oil stopped flowing, and when the oil stopped, the furnaces cooled. But that alone didn't finish off Sheffield's industry, although it hurt it bad. You see, next Britain was implicated as being the bogeyman when it came to taking sides with Israel, except it was nothing of the sort. But we were fed the lie, and so were the Arabs, ultimately leading to the catastrophic deindustrialisation of Britain. So when British Prime Minister Harold Wilson was asked by America to join in with the Vietnam War, Britain said no. And after the Arab-Israeli Six-Day War in 1967, Britain got blamed again. But it was the 1973 Yom Kippur War that proved to be the death punch. The Arabs turned off the tap completely, forcing Britain to buy oil from America at much more than extortionate prices. Britain turned to the mine workers to dig more coal. But the problem there was that the new boss, the post-war British government who nationalised everything in 1947, was the same as the old capitalist bosses. The Labour government under Clement Attlee used troops on numerous occasions to move coal and break strikes when miners took industrial action. So in 1974, when asked to ramp up production, that nice Mr. Gormley, head of the National Union of Mine Workers, brought the miners out on strike. Then followed daily pell cuts, the 3-day week, and petrol rationing. But you see, not knowing the American CIA secret, only declassified in 2017, the unions blamed the Tories, and so Thatcher shut the NUM down by closing all the pits. And so by the end of the 1980s, it was game over for British industry. Some clung on, only to lose within a few years. Hill 3 ends here at the Rivelin Valley, itself having once been an industrial powerhouse. There were 9 water wheels along here all the way down to Malin Bridge, providing water power for paper mills, corn mills, and the little mesters of the Sheffield cutlery trade. And as for the Peak District, it's just over there on the right. Just a few hundred yards away you can join the A57 and snake your way across the hills all the way to Glossop, or turn off to Bamford at Ladybower, and you can explore the real Peak District by watching other videos on this channel.